Hello, Judson University community, and welcome to Christmas Chapel. My name is Warren Anderson. I am the director of the DeMoss Center for Worship and the Performing Arts. And if you're new to our community this year, this has been something of a tradition that we have done the last couple of years. And I look forward to it every year. It's a great opportunity for me to get back into chapel a little bit. And I want to thank Professor Chris Lash and all of his team of students that have been doing such a great job this semester, not only for today's chapel, but all throughout the semester. Well done. I also want to thank Judson University Productions guru Jeff Flickema and his team of students who are making all of this possible. When we thought about what we were going to do this summer and had dreams of having to do a lot of this kind of thing, the way that we're doing it, it became a huge undertaking. And all of the folks who have been part of this deserve our thanks. So thank you. I also want to thank my two student cohorts here, DCWPA students Ben Johnson and Luke Pearson, for their dueling banjos that we're going to be having here this morning, and we're grateful for that. By the way, if you have the opportunity, nope, you're not going to have a chance to do that because that actually is going to happen this Sunday, and we're not showing this video until later. Never mind, but Ben is going to be playing on November 22nd with the Judson Civic Orchestra, Rhapsody in Blue, which will be a lot of fun. Well, what we do in this chapel is try to have some story time with Warren, as we call it, and so we're just going to launch right in. The first story today is called Santa Bruce, and you'll have these pictures that will be part of the experience, and you'll hear me reading. This comes from the New York Times best-selling author Ryan T. Higgins. So we are going to just launch right in, gentlemen. Are you ready? Here we go. Santa Bruce. Bruce was a bear who did not like the holidays. He used to stay in bed all winter long and skip right through the whole business. But his family wanted to enjoy a cozy, snow-filled Christmas together. This is going to be a great Christmas. No migrating, no hibernating, just family. So Bruce was awake. Actually, bears don't hibernate. They spend the winter in a state of lethargy. I thought we were spending winter in the state of Maine. Shh, you're ruining the Christmas spirit. The geese had decked the halls. The mice made lots of eggnog. The mice had made lots of eggnog. You gotta keep your verb tenses the same in a paragraph like that. You should know that, Mr. Higgins. There. Impromptu grammar lessons, no extra charge, your parents won't be billed. The holiday season was going to be filled with fun and cheer, but Bruce did not like fun. Bruce did not like cheer. Bruce did not like fun or cheer. Bruce also did not like being cold, which is why he started wearing long underwear and a warm hat. And then it happened. Again. A case of mistaken identity. Are you Santa? Bruce did not like mistaken identities. No, I am not. Go away. Oh my gosh, I met Santa. Wait right here while I go tell my friends. Wait, grrr, I am not Santa. Bruce decided to ignore the problem until it went away. Knock, knock, knock. It did not. It got worse. Did I hear someone knock? Who could it be? We should let them in. No, don't open the door. I won't want all their dirty little feet in my house. And worse. Santa! Tell them I am not Santa. And worse. Everyone, listen up. Single file, no pushing. Santa Bruce has time to see all of you. Who wants cocoa? Soon, word spread. and all the little critters of the forest wanted to visit Santa Bruce. I want 99 red balloons for Christmas. For Christmas, I want world peace. To tell him what they wanted for Christmas. I want a race car. I have been very good this year. Can I please have a power compound miter saw for Christmas? No, kid. You'll cut your fingers off. That's a reference, by the way, to the Christmas Story, classic film, where Ralphie wants a BB gun and everyone tells him that he'll shoot his eyes out. So that's the reference, in case you didn't get it. This is really hard because there is no audience feedback, so you don't know if these jokes are landing or not. You just don't. So I'm just going to wing it and pretend that you are really digging every one of these ad-libs, all right? And the fact that there is no feedback for me, you're just going to have to deal with my deer in the headlight. Did that land or not? Where were we? Sorry. Thank you. Finally, all those pesky interlopers went home, and Bruce could grumble in peace and quiet. But not for long. Knock, knock, knock. Because all the parents wanted to thank Bruce for his Christmas spirit. Bruce tried to tell them he didn't have any. Bah, humbug. That's when Thistle made an announcement. Bruce wants to say you're welcome, and what's more, Santa Bruce is going to deliver presents to all of your kids tonight. It's a Christmas miracle! And with that, the parents left, shouting with glee. Bruce did not like glee. Finally, Bruce headed to bed. The mice had other ideas. But what about getting ready for your big night? Yeah, what about the children? Bruce put his foot down. I am having nothing to do with this. I will not deliver presents. Besides, you don't have a sleigh. But the mice were persistent. Ta-da! Well, you don't have any reindeer. The geese were helpful. Fine, but there are no presents. And everyone was ready. By the way, what's in the boxes? Crackers. I'm still not going. Please, all you have to do is sit in the sled. We'll give you chocolate eggs. Finally, the grumpy old bear agreed to be Santa Bruce for one night, and everyone was very happy. I think we have too much weight in the sled. Well, almost everyone. This is going to be the best Christmas ever. Being Santa Bruce was not an easy job. That is not a cookie, that is soap. And I don't believe those are chestnuts roasting on the open fire above there. Here we have the bunny's house with Papa Bunny, baby bunnies, and grown-up bunny who still lives with his parents. That's for you, JLOU alums. You know who you are. And by the time Santa Bruce finally finished, the early morning light was creeping over a white Christmas. As all the critters of the forest awoke, they found presents waiting them from Santa Bruce. Crackers! Bruce had spread the spirit of Christmas all over the forest and brought everyone happiness. Merry Christmas, Bruce! Bruce did not like happiness. He liked sleeping. But Bruce's bed would have to wait. I'm sleeping through next Christmas. Let's do this every year. Honk. The end. Our next book, boys and girls, is All the Colors of Christmas by Matthew Paul Turner, illustrated by Gillian Gamble, best-selling author of When I Pray for You. All the Colors of Christmas. Christmas is red. It's a shiny new sled. It's candy canes and toy store lanes. It's sprinkles on sweetbread. It's packages with bows and Rudolph's bright red nose. It's pictures drawn and dressed up lawns. It's warm mittens when it snows. It's the drummer boy's drum. It's pa-rum-pa-pum-pum. There we go. It's Santa Claus and cranberry sauce. It's apples, pears, and plums. It's presents that we send to family and to friends. It's jolly cards and merry hearts. Yes, Christmas is red. And let it please be acknowledged that the former dean of the chapel is doing his part to reinforce the content of the Christmas message with helpful, supportive visuals. Christmas being red, you see. Thank you. And now Christmas is green. It's an evergreen scene. It's holly sprigs and mistletoe twigs. It's emerald lights agleam. It's garland on rails and pine needled nails. It's winter boots and funny elf suits. It's that old Mr. Grinch tale. Gentlemen, a C minor, please. C minor, F minor, C minor, D, G, C minor, F minor, B flat, G, C minor. Ready? C minor. You're a mean one, F minor. Mr. Grinch, C minor. You really, D, are a G. Heel, C minor. You're as cuddly as a cactus, F minor. B flat. You're as charming, G, as an eel, C minor. Mr. Grinch. You're welcome. It's Granny Smith pies and plaid Sandbergian bow ties. It's fresh potpourri that smells Christmassy. It's stockings hung high. It's tinsel on trees and grass iced by freeze. It's Christmas tree balls and artwork on walls. Yes, Christmas is green. Christmas is gold. It's bright ribbon unrolled. It's jingling bells and warm, yummy smells. It's heirlooms you are not allowed to hold. It's dancers all tapping among holiday trappings. It's nutcracker crowns and Christmas Eve gowns. It's glittery gift wrapping. It's a big turkey roast and walnuts you toast. It's crackling fires and glorious choirs, and glorious choir directors, I might add. It's an ornament you love the most. It's kids shouting, "Behold," wearing halos and robes. It's treetop stars and old church bazaars. Church bazaars in the midst of COVID? I don't think so. Bizarre churches, on the other hand. Yes, we've got plenty of those. Yes, Christmas is gold. Christmas is blue. It's a winter sky's hue. It's flannel sheets and shaped cookie treats. It's a lake frozen through. It's big puffy coats and huge parade floats. It's juniper trees and blue spruce wreaths. It's writing Santa notes. It's a sweater mama knit, stretched yet still fits. It's turquoise lights in the darkest of nights. It's a snowman's outfit. It's memories old and new of loved ones gone too soon. It's an Elvis song and nights growing long. Yes, Christmas is blue. Christmas is white. It's warm candlelight. It's mountaintops and small fancy shops. It's turtle doves in flight. It's December snowstorms and blankets so warm. It's angel wings and the song that we sing about our dream for Christmas morn. It's sleigh rides through snow and tea lights that glow. It's North Pole tales and frosty exhales. It's cocoa with marshmallows. It's a star shining bright on the holiest of nights. It's powdered cakes and paper snowflakes. Yes, Christmas is white. Christmas is brown. It's pine cones scattered round. It's caramel corn and copper French horns. It's winter's frozen ground. It's firewood piled high and reindeer that fly. It's cinnamon sweets and gingerbread treats. It's homemade pecan pie. It's a cradle soft with hay and a donkey's gentle bray. It's God within a baby's skin on that very first Christmas day. It's shepherds kneeling down and wise ones gathered round. It's Mary's sigh and Jesus' cry. Yes, Christmas is brown. Christmas is you. It's your own unique hue. It's your wondrous gleam and your bedtime dreams, your color each Christmas anew. It's your tinsel and flair and the gifts that you share. It's your jingling smile and your fa-la-la style. It's how you love and you care. It's the songs that you sing and the light that you bring. It's your heartfelt compassion and your hope put in action. It's your thrill for the little things. It's your love of what's true. It's the good that you do. You're a part of the story, the joy and the glory. Yes, Christmas is you. And that last page one more time. It's your love for what's true. It's the good that you do. You're a part of the story, the joy and the glory. Yes, Christmas is you. Okay, so a little narcissistic? Maybe. It's been a hard year though, right? So I get it. Enjoy. The Jesus Storybook Bible. Every story whispers his name. He's here. The Nativity from Luke 1 and 2. Everything was ready. The moment God had been waiting for was here at last. God was coming to help his people just as he promised in the beginning. But how would he come? What would he be like? What would he do? Mountains would have bowed down. Seas would have roared. Trees would have clapped their hands. But the earth held its breath. As silent as snow falling, he came in. And when no one was looking, in the darkness, he came. There was a young girl who was engaged to a man named Joseph. Joseph was the great-great-great-great-great-grandson of King David. One morning, this girl was minding her own business when suddenly a great warrior of light appeared right there in her bedroom. He was Gabriel, and he was an angel, a special messenger from heaven. When she saw the tall, shining man standing there, Mary was frightened. "You don't need to be scared," Gabriel said. "God is very happy with you." Mary looked around to see if perhaps he was talking to someone else. "Mary," Gabriel said, and he laughed with such gladness that Mary's eyes filled with sudden tears. "Mary, you're going to have a boy." "Mary, you're going to have a baby, a little boy. You will call him Jesus. He is God's own son. He's the one. He's the rescuer. The God who flung planets into space and kept them whirling around and around. The God who made the universe with just a word. The one who could do anything at all was making himself small and coming down as a baby." Wait, God was sending a baby to rescue the world? "But it's too wonderful," Mary said, and felt her heart beating hard. "How can it be true?" "Is anything too wonderful for God?" Gabriel asked. So Mary trusted God more than what her eyes could see, and she believed. I am God's servant, she said. Whatever God says, I will do. Sure enough, it was just as the angel had said. 9 months later, Mary was almost ready to have her baby. Now, Mary and Joseph had taken a trip to Bethlehem, the town King David was from. But when they reached the little town, they found every room was full. Every bed was taken. Go away, the innkeepers told them. There isn't any place for you. Where would they stay? Soon Mary's baby would come. They couldn't find anywhere except an old tumble-down stable. So they stayed where the cows and the donkeys and the horses stayed. And there, in the stable, amongst the chickens and the donkeys and the cows, in the quiet of the night, God gave the world his wonderful gift. The baby that would change the world was born, his baby son. Mary and Joseph wrapped him up to keep him warm. They made a soft bed of straw and used the animal's feeding trough as his cradle. And they gazed in wonder as God's great gift, wrapped in swaddling clothes and lying in a manger. Mary and Joseph named him Jesus, Emmanuel, which means God has come to live with us. Because, of course, he had. The light of the whole world, the story of the shepherds from Luke 2. That same night, in amongst the other stars, suddenly a bright new star appeared. Of all the stars in the dark vaulted heavens, this one shone clearer. It blazed in the night and made the other stars look pale beside it. God put it there when his baby son was born, to be like a spotlight shining on him, lighting up the darkness, showing people the way to him. You see, God was like a new daddy. He couldn't keep the good news to himself. He'd been waiting all these years for this moment, and now he wanted to tell everyone. So he pulled out all the stops. He'd sent an angel to tell Mary the good news. He'd put a special star in the sky to show where his boy was, and now he was going to send a big choir of angels to sing his happy song to the world. He's here. He's come. Go and see him, my little boy. Now, where would you send your splendid choir? To a big concert hall, maybe? Or a palace, perhaps? God sent his to a little hillside, outside a little town, in the middle of the night. He sent all those angels to sing for a raggedy old bunch of shepherds watching their sheep outside Bethlehem. In those days, remember, people used to laugh at shepherds and say they were smelly and call them other rude names, which I can't possibly mention here. You see, people thought shepherds were nobodies, just scruffy old riffraff. But God must have thought shepherds were very important indeed, because they're the ones he chose to tell the good news to first. That night, some shepherds were out in the open fields warming themselves by a campfire when suddenly the sheep darted. They were frightened by something. The olive trees rustled. What was that? A wing beat? They turned around. Standing in front of them was a huge warrior of light blazing in the darkness. Very nicely done. Don't be afraid of me, the bright shining man said. I haven't come to hurt you. I've come to bring you happy news for everyone everywhere. Today in David's town in Bethlehem, God's son has been born. You can go and see him. He's sleeping in a manger. Behind the angel, they saw a strange glowing cloud. Except it wasn't a cloud, it was angels, troops and troops of angels armed with light. And they were singing a beautiful song, "Glory to God be fame and honor and all our hoorays." Then, as quickly as they appeared, the angels left. The shepherds stamped out their fire, left their sheep, raced down the grassy hill, through the gates of Bethlehem, down the narrow cobble streets, through a courtyard, down some steps, past an inn, round a corner, through a hedge, until at last they reached a tumble-down stable. They caught their breath. Then, quietly, they tiptoed inside. They knelt on the dirt floor. They had heard about this promised child, and now he was here, heaven's son, the maker of the stars, a baby sleeping in his mother's arms. This baby would be like that bright star shining in the sky that night, a light to light up the whole world, chasing away darkness, helping people to see. And the darker the night got, the brighter the star would shine. The King of all kings, the story of the three wise men from Matthew 2. Far away in the east, three clever men saw the very same star, the star that God had put in the sky when Jesus was born. They knew it was a sign. A baby king had been born. They had been waiting for this star. They knew it would come. "He's here," they shouted. "He's here." And I'm sure if you'd been there, you would have heard them laughing and dancing and singing until the sun came up. At dawn, they packed up their camels and wrapped gifts for the baby. They brought their most precious treasures of all, frankincense, gold, and myrrh, special, sparkly, lovely smelling, gleaming things, just right for a king. The three wise men, actually, if you'd met them, you'd have thought they were kings because they were so rich and clever and important looking, set off. They rode camels across endless deserts, up steep mountains, down into deep valleys, through raging rivers, over grassy plains, night and day and night, for hours that turned into days, that turned into weeks, that turned into months and months, until at last they reached Jerusalem. Jerusalem was by far the most important city for miles around, and anyone could tell you that's where a palace would be, and kings are born in palaces. So that's where they went. But they were in for a surprise. They went to see King Herod. Surely he'd know where the baby was. But he didn't. In fact, he didn't like the sound of a new king. It made him cross. He didn't want anyone to be king except him. But Herod's advisors told the three wise men what was written in their books, what God had said about the baby king. Go to Bethlehem. That's where you'll find him. Suddenly, the star they had seen in the east started moving again, showing them the way. So the three wise men followed the star out of the big city, along the road, into the little town of Bethlehem. They followed the star through the streets of Bethlehem, out of the nice part of town, through the not-so-nice part of town, into the really not nice at all part of town, down a little dirt track, until it stopped right over a little house. But wait, it wasn't a palace. There weren't any guards or servants or flags or red carpets or trumpets or anything. Did they get it wrong? Or was this what God meant? Sure enough, in that little house, there sitting on his mother's knees, they found him, the baby king. The three men knelt before the little king. They took off their rich royal turbans and gleaming golden crowns. They bowed their noble heads to the ground and gave him their sparkling treasures. The journey that had begun so many centuries before had led three wise men here to a little town, to a little house, to a little king, to the king God had promised, the king God had promised to David all those years before. But this child was a new kind of king. Though he was the Prince of Heaven, he had become poor. Though he was the mighty God, he had become a helpless baby. This king hadn't come to be the boss. He had come to be a servant. Again, I want to thank you for tuning in. I hope this has been a nice, lighthearted way to end the semester. A semester that honestly has been anything but lighthearted. It's been hard. It's really been hard. I think I've done half the physical work that a professor like me usually does this semester because I can't do so many things. I'm not allowed to. but it has been twice the mental strain. And I'm guessing for most of you, you can resonate with that. So I want to leave you with a word of encouragement from Walter Wangerin Jr., an author who has written a wonderful devotional for Advent called Preparing for Jesus. And I'm not going to read all of it to you, just a paragraph. But it comes from a chapter in the book that he calls A Teaching How Mercy Comes, What Mercy Is. And he references Luke 1, verse 57. It says, "Now the time came for Elizabeth to give birth." And of course, Elizabeth is Mary's cousin, and she gives birth to John the Baptist before Mary gives birth to Jesus. So now the time came for Elizabeth to give birth, and she bore a son. When her neighbors and relatives heard that the Lord had shown great mercy to her, they rejoiced together with her. And this is what Wangerin has to say about that. "So when peace comes into me, though I had been desperately restless and afraid, and when I, who am weak, act with surprising strength, and when faith arises in my hopeless soul, and when I, whose heart was filled with hatreds, suddenly find forgiveness there, and when others love me, though I know I could not be the source of their loving, and when my children come home with reverence, as many of you are going to do in a few days, go home with reverence to your parents. And when the work of my hand praises God beyond my natural skill, and when what I am is what I ought to be." Let me say that again, because that so rarely is the case, right? "And when what I am is what I ought to be, whenever the impossible gift arrives for me, it is God. The gift that developed within me was not passed down from my parentage to me, not from my race, my culture, my education, prestige, or position. Nor could it arise from my own self, my nature, or my doing. That gift is evidence of God's love. It is His mercy so great that those around me, my neighbors and relatives, are astonished to find me in such a blessed condition after all." Friends, at the end of this truly brutal in many ways semester, our prayer for you is that the mercy of God will be manifest so greatly in your lives that those around you, your neighbors and your relatives, will be astonished to find you in such a blessed condition